She walked miles every night to bring food to a silent veteran. One morning, a parade of uniformed officers stopped outside her house. You ever seen a grown man eat in total silence? I mean, not a word, not even a nod, just eyes that look through you, like they're stuck somewhere else entirely. That's how it started. First night, he just took the container from me. No smile, no thank you. Just nodded once, barely, and shut the door. I should have stopped there, right? I mean, I didn't owe him anything. It's not like we were related. He was just this old guy 3 blocks down from my night shift, always sitting on that cracked porch in the dark like some statue. Folks called him Sarge. No one knew his real name. No one really wanted to. But something about the way he looked at the food, like it was the only real thing in his world, made me come back the next night. Then the next. Then every night for 6 weeks. I didn't even know why I was doing it. My mum said I had a saviour complex. My best friend Mia said I was nuts. Maybe I was, but every time I walked past his place, I felt this weird pull. Like if I didn't show up, he might vanish. One night, I brought soup, chicken and wild rice, the kind my grandma used to make. And for the first time, he didn't just shut the door. He looked me in the eye, just a second. But it was something. Then he said, real low, real slow, used to be a mess sergeant back in Fallujah. That's all he said. Then he closed the door again. I stood there like an idiot, holding the empty thermos, heartbeat in my throat. He'd spoken. He'd remembered something. And not just anything. Fallujah. That wasn't a small talk word. That was a loaded one. I went home and Googled everything about it. The battles, the photos, the heat, the smell of death they talked about. I couldn't sleep. The next night I brought stew and a side of cornbread. I added a sticky note on top. Thanks for cooking for others. Let someone cook for you now. This time, when he opened the door, he looked at the note first. Then me. Then, and I swear on everything, his lip trembled. Didn't say anything. But he didn't shut the door right away either. Just stood there like he was trying to remember how to be a person. From then on, I brought a little more than food, sometimes a newspaper. Once, a pair of thick socks when it started snowing. Another time, an old photo I found in a thrift store. 4 soldiers laughing in a dusty tent. He stared at that photo for a long, long time. Then he folded it gently and tucked it into his coat pocket like it belonged there. I never asked questions, never pried. I just showed up. He never invited me in, never asked my name. But I knew I was part of his routine now. Like a ghost, he let haunt his porch. One day I came back with his dinner and he wasn't there. Porch light off, door shut. House looked too quiet. I waited 10 minutes, 15, left the food on the step and walked away, heart in knots. He didn't show the next night either, or the one after that. 3 days passed. I couldn't take it anymore. I knocked. Nothing. I called out, Sarge? Still nothing. Then I noticed something strange. A piece of cardboard stuck behind the mailbox. I pulled it out. It was a note, scrawled in shaky handwriting. If I don't answer, it means I'm not alone anymore. I didn't know what that meant. Was he gone? Was someone helping him? Was that good? I tried not to panic. Told myself maybe a nurse came. Maybe the VA finally sent someone. That morning, the 5th day, I was brushing my teeth when I heard them. Engines, tires, boots. I ran to the window. A line of black cars. One by one, they pulled up in front of my building. Uniforms, medals, flags. They weren't looking at my place, though. They were looking at his. And every single one of them got out in silence. And saluted. I swear. I didn't even breathe. I just stood there, toothbrush in my hand, foam in my mouth, heart going 1,000,000 miles an hour. Because this wasn't like a little honor guard thing. This was a parade. Not with music or banners, but with meaning. You could feel it. Like the air got heavier. They lined up outside his house like it was sacred ground. Some of them looked older, stiff backs, silver hair, eyes like they'd seen the worst of it and somehow made it home. Others looked younger, straight from active duty, uniforms crisp. But every single one of them held their hand to their forehead like Sarge was standing right there in front of them. I yanked on a hoodie and ran outside in my socks. One of the younger guys noticed me. His eyes flicked to the thermos in my hand. I was still holding last night's dinner, like some kind of weird offering. He stepped forward and asked, "You the one who brought him food?" I nodded. He took a breath, then said, real soft, "He talked about you." That made my knees weak. I had to sit down on the curb. Because for 6 weeks, this man barely spoke 2 sentences. And now I'm finding out. He told people about me. He handed me something. It was a folded piece of paper, a little greasy at the corner like it had been handled a lot. I opened it. "She's the reason I remembered how to eat like a human being." There was no name, no signature, just that. And suddenly, I wasn't cold anymore. I wasn't confused. I was just cracked open. The guy, his name was Marcus, I found out later, said they were all from his old unit. Well, what was left of it? Some were local. Others had driven hours. He said Sarge had reached out to them 2 nights ago. Just a group message on an old chain. Nothing fancy. "Got someone here who reminds me the world ain't all noise." That's all he wrote, no details. But it was enough. They came, every one of them. Marcus said Sarge didn't want a funeral, didn't want a flag. Said, "Don't bury me in silence, bring it all back, just for one day." So they did. They stood outside his house, one by one, and spoke his name. His real name, James Franklin Cordell. And each person shared one memory. Some were brutal, some funny. One guy, bald with a crooked nose, talked about how Sarge saved his life with nothing but a shoelace and duct tape. Another guy couldn't even finish his sentence. He just choked up and said, "He was the only one who knew my brother didn't make it because of me, and he never treated me different." Then Marcus turned to me. "You want to say something?" he asked. And for a second, I panicked. Who was I? Just the girl with the food. But then I thought, no, that's not all I was. So I stood up. My hands were shaking. I didn't know what he saw in me. Honestly, I didn't even know what I was doing half the time. But he showed up. Every night. Took the food like it meant something. And when someone looks at you like that, like you matter, you stop feeling invisible. I looked at them. Maybe he saved you in the desert, but he saved me here, right here in this boring, cold, nothing town. I didn't have a mission, didn't have purpose. He gave me one. That's when I saw it, a photo taped to his front door. It was the one I gave him, the soldiers in the dusty tent. But now there was a new picture underneath it. Me holding out a thermos on that cracked porch. Someone must have taken it from the bushes or something. It was grainy, but it was me, and scribbled below it in thick black marker. She showed up. The thing about grief. It doesn't hit all at once. You think it's going to feel like a slap to the face or someone screaming he's gone, but it's not like that. It's slower, quieter. It creeps in later, when you're doing dishes or standing in line or staring at an empty porch that used to mean something. After that day, the house stayed quiet. No lights, no movement. Just the taped-up photo on the door, slowly curling at the corners from the wind. People in the neighborhood started noticing. I mean, they had to. A parade of soldiers shows up, and suddenly everyone remembers there's a war vet living 3 blocks down. A few folks started leaving flowers. One guy dropped off a flag and saluted it before getting back into his truck. Someone else brought one of those tiny rocking chairs and set it near the steps. And then it stopped. A week later, the house got boarded up. Just like that. Property of city council sign slapped across the window, like he was a problem that got cleaned up. But I kept walking past. I don't even know why. Habit, maybe. Or just that ridiculous hope that maybe one day he'd be sitting there again like none of this ever happened. like maybe I got it wrong. Mia thought I'd lost it. Girl, it's not your job to fix broken people. You did what you could. Let it go. But it didn't feel like enough. Not to me. So I started writing. Not a journal. Not poetry or some emotional Instagram caption. Just a letter. To him. Hey Sarge, I don't know where you are now. Heaven. Hell. Just dust in the earth. But I wish you knew that your house looks so empty without you. The porch misses your silence. I miss your silence. I wrote one every week, then every few days. I didn't even care if it was crazy. And then, the weirdest thing happened. About 2 months later, I got a package. No return address, just my name. Spelled perfectly. No one ever spells it right. Inside was a small wooden box, sanded smooth, smelled like cedar. Inside, a key, a damn house key. Taped to the bottom of the lid was a note. You kept me alive. Now it's your turn to keep this place alive. Do something with it. No signature, but I knew that handwriting, that blocky all-caps style. It was his. I thought it was a prank or a scam. I mean, what kind of person just gives you a house? So I checked with the city, pulled records, got help from this guy I knew who worked in the permit office. Turns out James Franklin Cordell had made me his beneficiary. No lawyers. Just a notarized letter and a paper trail that no one bothered to notice. I owned the house now. It took me 3 days to even unlock the door. I just stood there on the porch, key in hand, thinking, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? But eventually I turned the lock. It smelled like time, dust, old paper, soap that had gone hard. But it was clean, lived in, not abandoned. Everything was in its place. Chair by the window, boots by the door, one photo frame on the wall, a younger version of him, standing next to a tank, smiling like he didn't know what was coming. The kitchen table had a binder on it, thick, worn, full of clippings. Letters from soldiers, VA newsletters, old emails printed out, and in the back, a yellow sticky note. They all come home, broken. Some just break louder than others. I sat there for hours, reading, crying, laughing once or twice, and somewhere between page 50 and 60, I knew what I had to do. I turned that house into a kitchen, not a restaurant, not a soup kitchen. Just a place where people could eat and not feel alone. I started small, Friday nights only, open door, no sign up, no questions. I'd cook whatever I could afford, big batches of pasta, roasted veggies, once even chili with cornbread, just like I gave him that one time. And they came. At first it was just a few, a tired-looking guy from the bus stop, a woman with 2 kids who barely said a word, then a teenager who didn't eat, just sat on the steps for 3 hours and watched the street like it owed him something. Then it spread. Word gets around fast when food's involved. But it wasn't just the meals. It was what happened around them. The quiet moments, the way people loosened their shoulders when they realized no one was going to judge them. That they didn't have to explain the tremor in their voice or why they stared at the floor. A guy named Pete started showing up every week, always brought his own spoon. Said it reminded him of his bunkmate who used to steal MREs and stash them under his pillow. Then came Maria. She'd hum while she ate, this soft little tune like a lullaby from another country. When I asked what it was, she just said, "The sound of remembering someone you miss." I swear, this house started breathing again. It wasn't quiet anymore, not in a bad way. It was alive. But the real moment, the one that stuck with me, was the night Marcus came back. He didn't come for food, he came with a box. Said, "He wanted you to have this. We didn't know where to send it until we heard what you were doing here." I opened it on the floor while he sat with me. Inside, a collection of notebooks. Old, tattered, some pages torn, all in Sarge's handwriting. Each one was labelled with a name and a date. Corporal Jensen, February 15th. Lieutenant Ramirez, April 2nd. PFC Walters, July 18th. Dozens of them. And every single one was full of his observations. Notes, little pieces of these soldiers' stories. Stuff like, He clenches his jaw when someone mentions home. Sleeps with his boots on, still waiting for the next siren. Smiles when no one's looking, pretending to be okay. He'd written about all of them, like some invisible therapist, or a witness to their pain they didn't know they had. Marcus looked at me and said, "He didn't trust anyone with these, except you." I don't know why, but I started crying. Not the loud, ugly kind, the slow kind, the kind where your whole body just lets go, because I realized all those nights I thought I was saving him. He was still doing what he always did, taking care of everyone else, even in silence, even when no one asked him to. That night, I made something new, a wall in the hallway. I painted it myself, badly, honestly. I'm not great with brushes, but at the top, in big uneven letters, I wrote, "She showed up, so did they." Underneath, I started pinning names. No photos, no ranks, just first names, and one line they'd shared with me over a meal. It grew fast. Within weeks, I had to expand into the next room. People started coming just to read the wall. Some added their own notes. Some just touched it with their fingers, like they needed to feel proof they weren't alone. Then the reporters came, then the mayor, then the local news. Suddenly, this little house was a community healing hub, a grassroots veteran recovery centre. They slapped a plaque on the porch and everything, but I didn't care about any of that. I just cared about the guy who sat silent for weeks, but taught me how loud kindness can be. You ever watch someone remember how to laugh? Not the polite kind, not the, "Heh, that's funny" kind. I mean, the real deep belly, forget the world kind of laugh. It happened during Meatloaf night. This old guy, Earl, who barely spoke above a whisper, had been coming for a month, sat in the same corner, wore the same flannel, barely made eye contact. I thought he just liked the food. Then some kid, maybe 17 tops, accidentally knocked over a tray of mashed potatoes. Whole thing flew through the air and landed on Earl's boot. We all froze. And Earl started laughing, like wheezing, like something had burst open in his chest and finally got air. People looked at each other like, "Is he okay?" But then we all laughed too, because it was the sound of something breaking, in the best possible way. That's what this house became, a place where things broke, trauma, silence, shame, and somehow made room for something softer. One night, this woman came by, business suit, clipboard, looked like she hadn't eaten anything except stress in weeks. She sat down at my table and said, "I represent a foundation. We want to franchise this, take it national, maybe even global." I blinked. Franchise? I looked around at the chipped walls, the mismatched chairs, the way Pete was currently trying to fix the broken ceiling fan with a butter knife and duct tape. "Franchise this?" I said. "You want to copy this? You don't even know what this is." She gave me that tight PR smile. "It's a powerful brand, organic, emotional, authentic." I nearly laughed, because this wasn't a brand. It wasn't a campaign. It was a mess. A beautiful, holy mess made out of leftover soup and the quiet kind of love you don't post about. I told her no. I told her, it stays here, on this block, in this broken down house with Sarge's boots still by the door. You can't replicate truth like this. You have to earn it. She didn't get it, left in a huff. Probably pitched the idea to some podcast later, but a week after that, something happened that shook me. I came home to find the wall, my wall, had been vandalized. Spray paint, black, messy, across the middle. "This doesn't fix anything. You're not a hero." It felt like a punch, not because I believed it, but because some part of me used to think I was faking it, that I was pretending to help when I didn't really understand what they'd been through. I sat there all night, just me and the broken wall. Next morning, I didn't fix it. I added to it. Right underneath the graffiti, I wrote, "You're right, I'm not a hero," but neither was he, and that didn't stop him from showing up. People started adding more after that, not perfect quotes, not movie lines, just real stuff. I miss who I used to be. I don't sleep through the night, but I show up anyway. I wanted to die, and then I met Maria's soup. It wasn't a wall anymore. It was a conversation. And slowly, people stopped seeing the vandalism. It just became part of the story, like the house absorbed the pain and turned it into something human. That's when I knew I couldn't stop, that this place, this one beat-up house from one quiet veteran, was bigger than food or grief, or even me. It was the sound of someone saying, "I see you." The last night I saw him, it wasn't in a dream. It was a memory. One I hadn't let myself think about until everything else got quiet again. Right before he disappeared, maybe a week or so, I remember sitting on the porch after handing him his meal. It was cold, late. I should have gone home, but I stayed. He didn't say much, just sat there, eating slow, staring out like he always did. Then, out of nowhere, he said, "You know what it's like to hear gunfire for so long, you forget what silence is." I didn't know how to answer. I just shook my head. He went on, "When I got home, the silence was worse, like it was mocking me. Every creak in the floorboard felt like something missing, something I'd never get back." I remember turning to him and asking, "So how do you live with it?" And he said, "You don't. You feed it. You give it something warm, something human. That's why your soup matters more than you think." I never forgot that. Now, that porch has new people on it every week. They sit where he sat, sometimes in silence, sometimes laughing too loud. Once, someone brought a guitar and sang old blues songs like they were made right there on the steps. The house breathes in every story, every sigh, every person brave enough to knock. Some still call it a shelter. Others call it the listening house. I never gave it a name. It didn't need one. It's not about me. It's about Sarge, James Franklin Cordell. About the way he didn't talk, but said everything. About how a man so quiet left the loudest legacy I've ever seen. You know, people ask me now, "What made you keep going back?" And the truth is, I didn't know at the time. But looking back, I think I saw something in him I didn't have words for. Something I wanted to believe existed, that you could be shattered and still serve. Still save, still be worth something. And maybe, just maybe, be loved for it. If you were in this situation, what would you do? Have you ever gone through something like this, or helped someone who did? Let us know in the comments. Like the video if you felt it. And subscribe if you want more life stories that stay with you.